Welcome back, gentlemen. That was a very interesting discussion that we had just now. Okay, Tuan Syed, when you continue, you said that, whether we should continue with an NEP, but my question is, or rather statement is, no one in Malaysia, I think, has ever objected to an NEP. We do not want to see any segment of society that is poorer than the rest. But what has been, the question is how it's been implemented. Has it been abused? As you say, people who shouldn't get scholarships are getting scholarships. People who shouldn't be getting licenses, then we hear things about negotiated tenders. We seem to create this whole new wonderful world of business in Malaysia. So no one's arguing about affirmative action, but the fact that, don't you think that as we move forward, I agree with you, we need new ideas. Shouldn't we learn what we did wrong first? Would you agree?
Do I have more than 10 minutes?
No, sorry, you don't.
I agree. But there are two things here. There may be weaknesses in the administration. There may be weaknesses in the administrators. There may be weaknesses in the politicians or political parties. We have to separate that from the concept and the idea and the philosophy of affirmative action. The two are not the same. You can replace the people who are abusing it and misusing it and doing all the wrong things. You have to replace them. You have to get rid of them, but you cannot do away with the policy. Not at this point in time. I still feel that we need this policy. What I would suggest is that we tighten up implementation. My suggestion is that there is a way to marry affirmative action with market prices, market policies. You can with more merit and affirmative action, you can marry the two. If I can make a very quick suggestion, hopefully in 1 minute, you see, like the Class F contractors, it's reserved for the Bumiputras. Now the issue is the Class F contracts are very often priced way above what is market. Supposing a job can be done for X, the guy actually gets it for 2x or 3x, as you say, negotiated tenders. Now these are the abuses. The two things, there are many things damaging about this kind of behavior, but the worst thing is that it prevents the Class F contractor from going up in life and learning how to compete, because you get free money basically, so you learn not to compete. My suggestion is that being in business, there's wholesale business, retail business, you have bulk purchase, you have discounts, things like that. When Class F contracts are reserved for the Bumiputra community, it is like selling it in wholesale. This whole thing is available for you only. Therefore, it has to be priced at market or less.
Right.
My view is that since Class F contracts are reserved for Bumiputras, they should price it at maybe 5 or 10% below market. So the next guy will not be envious of getting it, number one. Number two is, if the guy wants to be assured of work of a contract, he gets it, but he doesn't get the 3 times, 4 times market price. He gets it at market or less, and so there is an incentive on him to work harder. If he wants to earn market profits, excess profits, you go out into the market.
Yeah, I have to interrupt you here because Professor Gomez is dying to come in.
Yes. I'd like to come in into this discussion.
Yes. And Professor Gomez, maybe the one question that hasn't been answered is the one about the whole were race-based political parties behind this or responsible for some of it? Okay.
I'd like to start by saying this. When the NEP was introduced, there's no denying that we needed that policy. And everyone agrees, we're all on the same page, that policy was imperative, and it has done
at that point in time.
And it has done enormous good for Malaysia. So let's leave that aside. But the point still remains that the NEP is a paradox, because it's a race-based policy which was implemented to try to bring about national unity. That's a paradox there. What is also interesting about the NEP was it was very clear that there's a duration, and the duration was stipulated by the founders when they introduced the policy, 20 years. And they were very clear that if we do not have the duration, it can lead to massive problems between those who have not been privy to the policy. And this is some of the consequences of no duration now for affirmative action in this country. So we are still having a race-based policy which is going on indefinitely. The debate now really is about, should we have a race-based policy or should we have a class-based affirmative action? And I think that's the area in which we should be moving the direction to. That's where we should have a debate on. But having said that, I'll also like to say this. The fact is, when they introduced the NEP, for all the good it did, it also brought about new inequalities. And it has brought about huge new debates. The debates have led to ideas about identity, the Malaysian identity, and where do we place Malaysians in this paradox where we are having a race-based policy on one hand, and we have discussions about Bangsa Malaysia and One Malaysia too. We have debates about the brain drain. We cannot deny the fact that we have a massive brain drain problem. We cannot deny the fact that we're having massive institutional decline. The problems with affirmative action was it involved public sector employment, and we're seeing massive declines in the quality of the public service delivery system. That has been acknowledged by the government. So these are key issues that need to be addressed. The problem here is, to come back to your point, we also still have race-based parties. And because we have race-based parties, they have not moved the discussion away from race-based discourses to class-based discourses, to discourses based on new identities that have emerged. One of the most significant things about the NEP is that new identities have emerged, and everyone is talking about these new identities. They've been articulated in terms of Bangsa Malaysia and One Malaysia. So there seems to be a mismatch here between state and society. Society seems to have moved forward because of the NEP-2, while the state seems to have been caught in a time warp and has remained locked in the debates along race-based policies. So I think this is where we should redirect the debates between state and what's happening in state as well as in society.
But wouldn't this be something that has been raised to the government before? You know, I can't believe that, you know, someone gets a brilliant idea, that's it, because I think there are lots of people out there who are trying to solve the problem. And think tanks.
The government did establish in 1989 the first National Economic Consultative Council.
Right.
And that was rightly done because, as Prof. Gomez has said, NEP had a 20-year duration, and 1990 was supposed to be the end of the NEP. In 1989, the National Economic Consultative Council was set up, and the government brought together about 150 people to brainstorm, to debate the sort of issues, the sort of challenges, the sort of policies that should be enunciated post 1990. And that came up with a national development policy. Unfortunately, it wasn't too much of a change from the original NEP, but the debate discussion was very much towards more a merit and needs approach that Professor Terence was talking about earlier.
I would like to add that when we were debating the new economic model, there was a big debate as to whether we should have affirmative action. And even prominent bankers like Nazir.
So when you say we, you're referring
to?
We,
I mean society, Malaysian society. There was a big debate going on, even in the Star once carried many stories on should we have affirmative action. Prominent bankers like Nazir Razak even brought up the point, should we have affirmative action in business? Now I think it's very clear that these debates transpired in terms of where should we direct affirmative action. Should we direct affirmative action to business? Has it succeeded? In fact, where we have seen significant failures is affirmative action in business, but where we have seen significant successes is affirmative action in education, because that's through which we increased the new middle class. So the debate has been there, and we have to ask the question why, in spite of the debate, was it brought back into the new economic model? And here we can see the Prime Minister, Najib Razak, having a big confrontation with certain groups, Perkasa, for example, who insisted that they should have this policy in place. So there was a contestation going on, even within the state, because the state knew that they needed to redress this policy. But this speaks to the question that you raised. Who controls the state, and how are decisions made within the state, and whose interests do they serve?
NEP is not entirely race-based. First prong is not race-based at all. It's class-based, bottom for the poor. Second is race-based. That's point number one. Number two, I think we confuse affirmative action with NEP. These two different things. Affirmative action started in 1914, Malay reservation land. It was incorporated in 1948, Federation of Malaysia, 1957, which the report say should be reviewed after 15 years. But the time never came, because 1969, 9 years after, we had racial riot. Then we had, there's two different, origin is different and no targets. When we talk about targets, we're talking about NEP targets or affirmative actions. We have to be careful. Affirmative action doesn't have targets. NEP has a target, and if you look at the number, I think we agree that it has met its objective, although there's a problem. That's 2. Number 3, brain drain. We like to say NEP is the cause of brain drain. There's a study done by Gregory Fu. It was published in Malaysian Economic Journal. He asked why people leave. First, monetary reason. Second, monetary reason. Third, monetary reasons. It's not because of NEP. Then you compare with Singapore, has a higher rate of brain drain than Malaysia. Hong Kong has a higher rate of brain drain than Malaysia.
And Israel.
Israel, voila, is the same thing. Lee Kuan Yew was wrong when he said in the book it was talent because of race policy. It is not. There are other, and our wages, if you look in Malaysia, is very low. You compare top and lower end, it's much wider than in America and in Europe. It's monetary incentive. That's 3. Number 4, the last one which I want.
I have to interrupt you here because we have to take another break, but we'll definitely get back to your thoughts, so hold on to it.
Okay, hold on to it.
Make a note if you're going to.